maybe we'll get into why acquiescence is so important to address. How can a few people in this cult dictate to the lives of billions like this? Think of a pyramid. The top of the pyramid, you've got the cult. Tiny few people in relation to the population. And this pyramid, which is human society, is hierarchical. So the cult at the top of the pyramid imposes its agenda on the next level, which acquiesces to that imposition, and it itself then imposes on the next level. Now, as you come down this pyramid, you're very few steps down before you reach the point where the hierarchy doesn't even know there's a cult. Only these higher, in around the spider, as I call it, levels know that there's a cult, unless you work your ass off for 30 years to uncover it. And so you then hit a level where they're not aware of where this is coming from, but the same sequence continues. So this level will impose on this level, which acquiesces to the level above and imposes on the level below. And this goes down the pyramid, imposition, acquiescence, imposition, acquiescence, imposition, acquiescence, until at the bottom of the pyramid, symbolically, you meet the mass of human society, the population. Now, if we acquiesce to the level of the pyramid that's imposing on us, like your governments, etc., then we complete a circuit. We complete a circuit between the population and the tiny few in the cult, which has allowed the agenda of the cult to impose its will on the entire population, purely by this sequence of imposition, acquiescence, imposition, acquiescence. So this is why I've gone on about that so much in this chat, because if we will break that circuit by not acquiescing to that level seeking to impose upon us, we break the circuit. And no longer are the cult at the top of the pyramid imposing their will on the population, because we have broken the connection. And we've broken it simply by ceasing to acquiesce to the level of imposition imposing on us. And if we did that, if we put down the fault lines there to divide us of race and sexuality, I don't care what you do with your dick. I don't care if you haven't got a dick. I don't care what you do with it, so long as the receiver is okay with it. I don't care. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what religion you follow. I'm not bothered. It's just a brief experience for the consciousness not only that you are, but the consciousness that we all are. And we have to be manipulated into these self-identities of labels, so that all this potential to divide and rule us is there, because it's essential. So let's put it down. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what you call yourself. Just don't impose it on anyone else that doesn't want to impose it upon them. And let's realize that we're all the target of the same force, and that there are billions of us and a handful of it, and thus I think I see a way out of this. And if we come together in unity and we cooperate in protecting our own freedom and the freedom of each other, it's over. It's over. They can't impose what they want if we do that. And so if you are part of the divide and rule, if you are an anti-hate Antifa with hatred on your face and a baton in your hand, then don't tell me you are anti-system. Don't tell me you are anti-establishment. You are the establishment. You are the foot soldiers, the stormtroopers of the establishment you claim to oppose, because anyone that embarks and is playing a part in dividing and ruling the population, setting it at war with itself, censoring the free flow of information, you are doing the cult's bidding. And when you've done its bidding to the point where it gets the control that it wants, you will then be the target, which is why revolutions invariably consume their own children.
And all of this is covered in the answer.
In the answer. The answer is in there. It's multi-leveled, but there's a central core. And it's not a case of is the answer not there? It's whether we're prepared to take it. And that's the choice, my God, we've got to make, and we've got to make it quick.
You always leave us with some hope at the end of these conversations, David. You always talk about moving forward, out of love and not fear, and how we are this, infinite expression of consciousness, having just a brief experience here. And I always hope people can understand that, but it's hard to get people to really feel that sometimes.
Well, it's hard because one of the great targets of the cult, because it knows how the human form works, is the heart. I'm not talking about the physical heart, though they are connected. I'm talking about the heart vortex within the human energy field, the heart chakra, or wheel of light, as they call it in the East. And we think of love in a certain way, being attracted to somebody or loving your kids. But actually, what I'm talking about, and I talk about this a lot in the answer, it's very different. It includes that, of course. But love in its true sense does not say, I want the best for my kids, although we do, of course we do. It says, I want the best for everybody. And when you open this, it's not just love in the sense that people perceive it. It opens you to infinity. It's our connection to all that is, has been, and ever can be. And through that connection, you have insight, you have knowing. When people have intuitive knowing, where do their hands go? Look, mate, I just know. They don't say, I just know. They're saying, I'm thinking. This thinks because it doesn't know. This knows because it does know, because it's connected to that which does know. And when you open your heart, you're opening your connection to a level of awareness that allows you, first of all, to see the connections, because you're coming from that level, everything is one. Therefore, you can see the connections in the reality you're experiencing. But one definition I would give for this kind of love is the absence of fear. I would call evil the absence of love. I think that's what evil is. It's the absence of love. You infuse love into evil. It's not evil anymore. It's the absence of love. And this is what this cult is. It's the absence of love. That's why it does what it does. But it's also the absence of fear. Because once you open to this insight, this self-identity, you know there's nothing to fear. Because whatever happens, whatever experiences we're having, there'll be another one along in a minute, we are always an expression, a point of attention within all that is, has been, and ever can be. And however bad the experience we're currently having, that is what we always are. All that is, has been, and ever can be. And so this does not fear. This will always do what it knows to be right, and therefore does not consider consequences for doing what it knows to be right, because it would never consider doing anything but what it knows to be right. Thus, consequences are irrelevant. This says, I'd like to do this, but what are the consequences? And you'll always find a list of consequences why you wouldn't do it. This says, I do what I know to be right. Consequences, therefore, are not even a conversation. And one of the great fears that people have, well, it's the foundation fear, I think, is the fear of the unknown, which manifests as the fear of death. And the manipulation of the fear of death is why people have been frozen in fear, because they fear death. That's why doctors have so much power. Save me, doctor. Well, actually, you are all that is, has been, and ever can be, and always will be. You're just having a brief experience. So this is without fear. It doesn't consider consequences. What I mean by that is it knows that if you cross the road in front of a truck, you're going to get damaged. But I mean consequences of what will people do or think or say about me, what will happen to me for doing what I know to be right. It doesn't even consider those consequences. I never consider them. I never consider them. Because to consider them is to consider not doing what I know to be right, not having it. And because you reach this point of connection and this point of insight, you know, and I'm not sitting cross-legged on a mountain like the bloody Buddha. Anyone can do this. It's our natural state. We're being manipulated into an unnatural state. This is what I'm describing as our natural state. When you open your heart, you know that death is nothing except a transfer of attention. That's all it is. I've got a picture in the answer, and it's of a bloke with a headset, you know, a virtual reality headset, and he's just taking it off and looking around. And I put a caption underneath, "My God, I've just died." Because that is what death is, basically. It's taking the headset off. It's moving out of this brief experience into the expansive true self. So when you open this, all this comes to you. You know all this. And therefore, this would never be intimidated by authority seeking to impose itself upon you when you know it's not justified and it's about destroying your freedom. This is freedom. It's the freedom of knowing that the scale of who we really are. It's the freedom of connecting with all that is. This is not going to be frightened of Boris fricking Johnson and Matt bloody Hancock or Fauci or Gates or any of them. They're irrelevant to it in terms of what it does. I tell you, when there's a revolution of this, acquiescence will stop. This would never acquiesce to impositions on freedom. Never do it. Always does what it knows to be right. This is the revolution. This will change everything. And anyone can do it.
But yet so many of us are disconnected from this, you know, even though it's right there.
I
feel it when you talk about it, David.
Yeah. This is the mind blindness. One of the things it seeks to do, and the cult seeks to do, is shut this down. It cannot affect the energy of love in the sense that I'm talking about, because it's itself on such a low frequency. No way that it can impact in any way on this frequency. But what it seeks to do is stop this manifesting by closing the heart. And the heart is the center of everything. And people talk about the physical heart, okay, but if you go back, what they're really talking about is this heart, the energetic heart, the connection out there. And you look at all the things, all the symbolism through the ages and still today relating to this. Open heart, heart of stone, broken heart. You look at all the phrases relating to the heart, and it's because this is the center of everything. And we've been manipulated to think this is the center of everything. It's not. Do you know that the heart is the biggest electromagnetic field, most powerful electromagnetic field in the body? And this, when it's open, dominates the head. What do people say all the time? What does your head say? Okay, what does your heart say? And they say very different things, because this is out there and this is down here. And when this opens, everything changes, because you change. Everything about you changes. It's what happened to me a long time ago, and changed my life.
And everyone can access this whenever they want.
Anytime they want. And what I would say is, ditch the bloody labels. Stop identifying with labels. They are a brief experience. Even your name is a brief experience. You are the consciousness having the experience. So when someone says to you, who are you? You are all that is, has been, and ever can be, having an experience. What you call yourself, if you meet someone and people say, who are you? They'll give you their name, they'll give you their job, they might give you their family background, their family history, where they went to school. That's what they're saying they are. Who are you? But that's just what they've experienced. Who am I? All that is, has been, and ever can be, having an experience called David Icke. Very brief, very interesting. And who are you? Brian Rose. No, all that is, has been, and ever can be, having a brief experience called Brian Rose. And the point of attention that I am is an expression of the same consciousness that the point of attention that you are is. And the same with all of us. So racism and all these isms and all these divisions are not only undesirable, they are confirmation that those that go down that road are utterly clueless about the nature of reality and the nature of who they really are. And I see anti-racists who are utterly obsessed with race, when it's just a brief experience. That's all it is. You are what is having the experience. And when that penny drops and this, as a result, opens, game over. Game over. But not until.
Well, if we keep having conversations like this, then it might actually happen, David.
We're working on it, eh? And I know a lot of other people are as well. So
yeah,
you keep going, because the alternative is to not keep going, and that is unthinkable and certainly won't happen here.
What's next for you, Dave?
Well, I'm actually going to do in September a live 4-hour presentation with all my illustrations, in which I'm going to go pull all this together, including the, some of the stuff we've been talking about here and more. I was supposed to be talking in November to about 4,000 or 5,000 people in Manchester, but of course, so we pulled it forward, and I won't do it with an audience, but I will do it live to anyone who wants to see it. And that's on September the 9th. Details at davidicke.com very soon, I hope.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I love that. The book is the answer. People can pick it up on davidicke.com. There's also a link below they can click as well. Grab it, read it, study it. My favorite part of our conversations, David, are the end. You know, when you show us how we can overcome all of this stuff by opening our hearts. And I always tell people, the reason I know that David Icke is the real deal is because he doesn't try to get you to hate someone or fear someone in order to get you to do something. That's the difference between you and everyone else out there. Governments, cult leaders, all these other people. They need you to hate something or fear something, and that makes you do something.
Exactly.
And you say, love, and then make your own decision, do your own research, and then do what you think is right.
No one needs love more than the cult, because its very being is the absence of love. And I would just say this, you're in a room with a group of people. Whether it's a nice experience or whether it's an unpleasant experience depends on the perceptions of the people involved, because they dictate the behavior of the people involved and whether it's a nice experience or a bad experience. Now just project that to the human race and getting on for 8 billion people. Human society is merely a projection of the collective human state of perception. We change our perceptions, we change our experience, we change our society. And we have reached a point of subjugation by the few simply because we've given our power to the few. That's the only reason the world is as it is now. And we can look for solutions, or we can be sensible and we can remove the cause of the problem. And the cause of the problem is human acquiescence with our own enslavement. Change that, change the world.
David, thank you.
Pleasure, mate.
I don't know what we would have done this year in 2020 without these 5 conversations. I don't know what the world would have done, but thank God for David Icke. So
very kind.
I appreciate everything you've done. I appreciate your 30 years of research. There's nobody who can do this like you do it. There's nobody who can boil it down and break it down and leave us with a message of hope and positivity and direction. So thank you. Thank you for coming and making these things happen. Thanks for coming to London, and thanks for putting this out there. You've changed so many people's minds and so many people's lives. So I really appreciate you.
Always a pleasure, Brian.
All right. And I would say to anybody watching, share this video. Share this to your social, to your friends. Share this to someone who needs to open their heart, who's living in fear, who's angry at other groups, or is divided or confused or in fear of their health, and all of these things. Just share this video and ask them to watch it to the end, and then see what they think. See if they can open up their heart. That's what I would say to everybody. So share that. Also, we'll clip this into a bunch of pieces. So if they want to share various clips of this on social media, just beware. Then put out these messages as well, so people can get a taste of David's message and then come back.